Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you are tuning in from today. Super excited to have you on this edition of Female African and on board. And I have a fantastic guest. I like to call her my big sis. I'm so excited that she could join us for this edition. This edition is actually quite special to me because it talks about something that we rarely talk about when we are discussing female executives power presence, and it's really about vulnerability and the inner work required for deeply rooted powerful leadership. And I couldn't think of anybody else to anchor this conversation with us today. So if you're just joining, please tell us in the comments your name, what city you're joining in from. We had a bit of snafu with the timing, with the +1, +2, GMT, UTC, but we're here. So if you're watching from the previous post, thank you for coming to this one. Okay, so if you're joining in, please just put your name and the comments and what city you're joining from. Feel free to ask a question, and I will be sure to read out your name and your comments. Okay, so let me introduce our guest today. Our guest today is none other than Yetunde Bankole-Bernard. I would like to call her fondly YBB. She is a reinvention guide and an identity coach. And I must say that I have experienced her gifting in this area. But beyond all she does as a coach, she's also a boardroom powerhouse and an executive director for a conglomerate with over 5 companies under the belt of the company. So she's not a small fry. Let's not be looking at her anyhow. YBB, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I was muted. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Glory. I am happy to be here. Always a pleasure, always an honor. Thank you so much. So, how do I introduce myself? I think that in recent times, I'm getting more comfortable with using the term reinvention guide.
Mm.
And then, of course, I use communications expert as well, an identity coach. Primarily, what does that mean? It means that I work with people to reimagine what identity looks like to them, and not just people, teams, organizations, companies. Really to focus on their most magnetic expression and show up as that. And sometimes they are in transition. So that means that, okay, who are we today? So that's why the invention guide comes in. Who are we? Who do we need to be? How do people receive us? What do we need to show up as? So primarily, it is about messaging, but it's also about dominance. And I am happy to use that term freely. I think that, and then primarily I'm also the group executive director at Finchco Holdings. And Finchco Holdings is a group of 6 companies in aviation travel and tours. Pretty much, I think that that's a quick introduction as we
Amazing.
start.
Amazing. I love that, how people can show up as their most magnetic self. What does that really mean, YBB?
The truth is, magnetic self means what is most unique and attractive about you. Whether as, it's called so many things, but it's like a consolidation of what is most endearing, most useful, most valuable,
Mm.
most presentable, most beautiful, about you. And whether you're looking at this from a personal point of view or from an organizational point of view. So it would look like anything from people and culture to, policies and processes to vision and mission to CSR plans. How do you show up in your most magnetic, useful, valuable, interesting, powerful, attractive
Mm.
self? So I think that, that's it's a whole, you
Hmm.
know everything comes together to create the term dominance.
I love that about, what is the most beautiful part of you? What is the most useful? What is the most impactful part? Whether you're an individual, an organization. But it sounds to me like the word that produces that is permission, right?
Mm,
So what is one truth you wish female executives or even organizations, right, would accept about themselves early on in their career development process?
I think that it is really in identity, that your identity is your greatest asset. What does that mean? Your very core. Why are we even here? What are we chasing? What's the reason? So for instance, if I'm looking at female executives, what is it that you are there for? And especially for people in the corporate world, that you don't spend your prime years blending in, you don't spend your prime years trying to shape shift and conform, that you cultivate the gifts that are originally yours, that what makes you unmistakable, recognizable, and that you build your leadership style from it. So I think that it's really that truth, that your identity, who you are at the very core. And that, sometimes we struggle with what is identity. It is really what is unmistakable, undeniable, but also attractive about you. Yeah.
I really like that. What is undeniable, attractive about you? Um, I remember, I know in the work that we have done, I remember when we first met, I came across as hard. I was used to be very, very hard. And, I always used to say, I would go into an argument until there's a phrase, until a better argument came across, until I was challenged by a better rhetoric, a better argument. And very quickly you helped me to see that while there was a better way of expressing that part of me that had a mind of its own, right?
Mm,
So it's really, really interesting about, and I guess this is the work that you do around reinvention, right? And that transformative process. But then how do we stay authentic, right?
mm,
But we're still adapting to these different leadership environments without losing our essence.
mm. So I think that they align where we started from. If I'm saying that your identity is your greatest asset, and if you're saying that how do I remain authentic, is to be rooted in that no matter what rooms that you are in, that you don't shape shift. And when we talk about shape shifting, it's different from collaborating, it's different from negotiating. No, it's shape shift, like you are this, but you just become that because circumstances, right? So it is that you are, even if you're adapting your language or you're adapting your priorities, that you do not adapt your core, which is your values, that you are anchoring yourself in your values, which is what is most important, what is most should I say, useful, valuable to me. So let me give you a quick example. So authenticity will be to know that, what, I need to step down from this because at my very core, this is conflicting, right? There's a conflict of whatever interest inside of me, outside of me, whatever it is. Or to stand up for something because you actually know that, what, this thing, I can push it to the end, I can understand it, but not shape shift and say, oh, because these people are here, because I want to achieve that, because what will happen at the end of the day is the more you do that, the more you lose yourself, and you wake up one day, you're like, how did we get here?
I think that's so powerful. And I think the mistake that we can make is to, like you say, is to shape shift, thinking that we are being adaptable, without realizing that we are losing our core and our essence. And this brings me to reveal, right? I know that you are in the UK and you have this awesome sort of retreat prepared. And I'm really interested in the name reveal. What does that mean?
I think that it's an English word and it almost like tells us what it is. Reveal. So why the reveal? So the reveal first off is because it's a journey of identity and purpose into power. What does that mean? So I'm taking this into um like so primarily I'm from Nigeria. My work and all of that is rooted in my Nigerian culture, my Nigerian identity, across Africa. But if you're going into a different clime, there is a type of, there's cultural intelligence. There's so many things that are changing and moving around in those spaces. However, it doesn't change who you are at the core. So there's a message of identity and purpose that I believe is relevant now for the Nigerian in diaspora, for the African in diaspora, navigating differences that are, you know, almost uncommon. And you know, this whole reveal is who you need to be now. Like the world is moving at the speed of light. I don't even know if that's the correct speed now.
Mm, mm,
And sometimes you are, you know, in conflict with yourself on what is important to do, or sometimes you are just on cruise, like you are just making things happen because you are on, you know, there are just some things that have to be done, but at your very core you want more. You may not even be able to identify what that more is. So reveal is just that uncovering, that unmasking, beyond a message, that it is a method. Like what do we need to do now? You know, so that is, I think, that the message of reveal that I'm taking into the nations of the world for the Black, well, the Nigerian or the African in diaspora
mm. I think
primarily.
I think that's such a powerful, it's a powerful sort of word that means a lot, especially for, and it's timely, right? It's very timely because I feel like the world is almost in a I don't want to use the word stronghold because that sounds so religious, but it's in a tight
It's
space,
in,
and people, a lot of people feel backed into a corner, and a lot
mm,
of people go into survival mode
mhm,
to to be able to come out on top. But like you say, that inner power, that inner confidence is what is needed here, and understanding who you are. So if you are in the UK, please right now just send YBB a DM on Instagram or on LinkedIn, or YB, if you have any of your team here, they can put a link to in the comments so that people can see how to register for the reveal. But in the meantime, we have a comment here from Marigold. Marigold Daniel says, this resonates so much. Staying true to one's core is key. One's core value is key. Staying authentic is the growth you seek. Thank you for this insight. Thank you so much, Marigold. Marigold, where are you joining in from? Where are you watching from today? Please feel free to leave your comments. We will highlight all your comments, and YBB will take all your questions. Trust me, to get her to take questions. So now that you have her here, please take advantage of that. Let us know where you're joining in from today. Let us know your questions around identity, executive presence, while we are here. Okay, so why we've talked about a few things, right?
mm.
We've talked about mistakes, we talked about what reveal is, but what is the biggest myth you think women and men, have about executive presence? And what would you replace? What is the more empowering truth you would replace that myth with?
Hmm. I think it's really that executive presence is about charisma. You know, that's a myth.
Mm,
People think it's about, hey, let's show up, you know,
mm,
give them.
mm, mm,
I think honestly for me that is the most ridiculous thing. And to be honest, or to be fair, we started from there. Everybody just thought that executive presence is about being charming, or it's
mm,
about having charisma, or sometimes about being the extrovert in the room.
mm,
But executive presence, and I think that what we should focus on is about clarity. So, and clarity, not just clarity, is clarity of intention. What exactly are we chasing? Why are we here?
mm,
What's the goal?
mm,
And that, you know, the energy of clarity in intention means that people will remember how decisive or meaningful the connection with you was. So, not just in how you look or how your body language comes, but that there is a meaningful connection. Sometimes meaningful connections are not always things that are tangible, but it can only be in a place of clarity of intention. Let me give you a quick example. So, if for instance, you were invited to this high power event and you wanted to meet somebody in particular, and you had been trying to meet this person, and you didn't. And for whatever reason, that day you just saw this person right there and you say, okay, I'm an introvert, I don't. So, what would executive presence do? Executive presence in clarity of intention will be like, what is at stake here? If I do not connect with this person, if I do not, you know, collect their card, if I don't, what will happen? And if you're able to clarify that, you're like, okay, I'm not going to rush and do. Just an
Mm,
example. I'm not going to rush and be seen, just because of that. Instead, I would just make sure that,
mm,
I interact and,
mm,
what do I want? I want the person to remember me,
mm,
not that I want to collect something. I don't want to take, I want
mm,
to give.
mm,
So, what executive presence and a meaningful connection and clarity on intention will do for you is that you will connect. However, you won't be asking for anything, you'll be giving. You'll be listening to the person, giving them back feedback and all of that. And if there was an opportunity for you to say, oh, you know what, I could do this for you about that, or my name is this, something to register your presence, because you'd have been able to clarify what is at stake here, what do I really need to do. However, on the other hand, if what is at stake is that if I do not connect with this person today, is a matter of life and death, right? It is that you do it in grace, not
mm,
in desperation.
mm,
That is what executive presence means. That you watch. So, for instance, if this person is tired, that's not the time to start talking about yourself and start, you will acknowledge, for instance, your day must have been this. How did show genuine interest, and then you connect. So that person remembers you for being real and true and authentic, and beyond perfectionism or charisma, that there is a clarity and clarity of intention and an energy of warmth and truth. And I
mm,
think that that is what translates um, the general showing up,
mm.
you know that's what translates it to a place of higher meaning. I think that that's what I would say in that instance.
I love that because there's another saying that if you don't understand a use of a thing, there is abuse,
Mm,
right? And if you think about a home, when you're furnishing your home, when you understand the intention of each piece of furniture, you are able
mm,
to place it in its proper space,
mm,
right? So that was the analogy I had when you were talking about clarity of intention, right? And clarity of who you are, right? Really, it really helps to position, and it doesn't create rush. It
mhm.
doesn't create performance. It allows being.
Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes,
think that
yes.
is so important in our world today, where everything's about performance, being seen for the sake of being seen, and all of that. So just really, really powerful. Guys, if you are here, if you're enjoying this conversation, please let us know your aha moments. Let us know where you're joining in from. Let us have your questions. One of the things that I find, YBB, and I don't know if you find that as well in your work with executives, and this can be either with men or women, right?
Mhm,
Is that sometimes they're achieving a lot of things, and maybe this is also the lack of clarity you refer to as well. But they're achieving a lot of things, but they don't feel visible, they don't feel acknowledged, they don't feel seen, right? How can they shift their perspective to actually own? I'll give you an example. I was talking to somebody today, and she had spent 20 years working in a particular industry and had now shifted into a new sector, but was heading one of the top positions in this particular company, and yet was feeling unseen or unsure, right, of herself. What
mm.
is the mindset shift that is required for people like that?
This is such a relatable thing, as as sometimes confusing as it sounds. It's very relatable, and I think that it is in, again, clarifying your reason. So a lot of times we are looking at other people and comparing, and setting, should I say, you're setting benchmarks against what is outside of you. I would say that begin from within. So what do you really want? And what is this about? What do you really want? If you don't even know what you're telling yourself, how will you make up a story for anybody else to, so you have to first off, know what you are telling yourself. Why am I here? What do I come with? What is unique about being me? What value am I in the world? And to remind yourself. And sometimes I say that we really underestimate the value of feedback. A lot of people don't ask questions. And somebody says to you, oh, thank you for this thing that you did. You don't say, thank you so much, or what exactly about it. Um, you know, impressed you or what, so that you can begin to build what I'll call self-trust. Because what
Mm,
happens in those moments is when your tank is empty,
mm,
when you can't find anything that validates yourself, like you can't
mm,
find, so you always have to look on the outside, and
mm,
God forbid you
mm,
find the very outside that you're looking at is bent on pushing you down or killing, you are done. So it's that you build self-trust, you
mm,
build a bank. And I
mm,
find that that bank comes from reminding yourself and sitting in your wins. There's so
mm,
many times that we do things, but we're too quick to move, especially people that are, that are perfectionists or people that hold themselves to high standards. When they do something, an event, they do something for someone, something that you've been planning for a long time, and it happens and it's great. You're just happy, but the next day you're going through what didn't work. How do we plan next? How don't you just sit in it and just say, "Wow, we did this. Look how I showed up here. This was so
mm,
good." Remind yourself of
mm,
your brilliance. Take
mm,
take notes.
mm,
So when you take those notes, your
mm.
mind is so powerful. It will remind you on its own. When something comes, the mind itself will say, "No, no, no, I've done this now. This is not a big deal." You build a bank of self-trust. And so there's so many layers to that, to honoring, to feeding, to taking care of yourself. Self-care is not just on the outside, self-care is on the inside. What do you permit yourself to think? When the thoughts come, how do you replace it? How do you stop it in its tracks? How do you permit it not to go overboard? Why? How don't you say, no, no, this is much. Call yourself to order. How are you not in control of your own thoughts, of your own, the things that you say to yourself? So these things, they are wider than just saying, I feel this way, I feel that way. It is that you have not built the bank of self-trust. And when people or things or situations take out of it, that you make a deliberate effort to fill it right back.
So
And
powerful.
I would say that the way to fill it right back is again to clarify
Mm,
what is my narrative? What do I want to take out of this? What do I want to leave this confusion, this pain, this hurt, this fear, this anxiety? What do I want to take out of it? What do I want to see in it? Okay, am I seeing I need to upgrade? I need to do this course. I need to speak to this person. I need to get, so that you are not dwelling in it and depleting your self-trust bank. And instead, you're converting it into useful information that you can build from. I hope that helps.
I think it does. Gbemisola Okpa is in the comments, and she's just and she's like self trust deep. And I think this idea of, I mean, you said remind yourself of your brilliance. I
Mm.
think many times the world has conditioned us not to blow our own trumpets, not to accept our own brilliance, and not to live in our own brilliance. We see it as
Mm.
boasting, and it's almost like you have to be woe is me, like you have to be woe is me, right? But I love what you said. Take notes, build that bank of self trust. What I love about this conversation is that it's a conversation of self. It's almost a
Mhm.
conversation of soul,
Yeah,
right? And I
yeah,
think many times we are so focused on adorning the outside, we forget that what allows us to adorn the outside is the internal work,
mm.
right? Once you find yourself valuable, you will adorn yourself outwardly correctly.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
so powerful. I see a lot of comments. Tobias says, love this. Michael says, Johnny from Port Harcourt. David says, clarity of intention, good, well put. Visibility meets vulnerability. I love the topic already, says Ruth. Marigold says she's watching from Nigeria. She's glad to be here. Thank you for this intelligent event. We have Ajibike says, really insightful. Thank you. Guys, please keep the comments flowing, keep the comments and the questions. Let us know where you're joining in from. If you're in the UK and you're loving this event, YBB is literally in the UK with you, and she has something in store for you. YBB, do you want to tell them about the reveal event and what you're going to be covering during the reveal event?
Thank you so much. So, the Reveal London is on the 23rd of August at 9 o'clock. It's the whole day. So it's typically a day of many things, a day of rest,
Mm,
where, because in this, I understand that people in this system is a different kettle of fish. You are working, you are
mm,
doing so many things, your mind is always on, speed dial. I need to do this, I need to do that. There's so much organization. First things first is to rest, to find time for yourself, to go into yourself and decide, you know what, today I'm taking care of me. Now, taking care of me in my soul, in my body, in my mind, in my spirit. But also, when I sit in soul, I sit in soul primarily in mind and in emotions. What am I carrying that I need to drop? What do I need to translate or transit into? So that's where strategy comes. Like I said when we started, I'm saying that no, it's beyond messages or teachings, that is actually a method. So crafting your next, and that can be in self-branding or self-positioning. How do I, even in the life that I'm living, whether I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a professional, I'm a founder, I'm a creative, how am I showing up in my most magnetic, attractive self in this location? Because location shouldn't define me. It shouldn't be a condition like, oh, it's because I'm here, it's because I'm busy, it's because I have so much to do. That's why, people don't really know my value. They can't really say my brilliance. I can't really be, identified for this or for that. What is my purpose in the world? Am I just doing a job that I love, or a job that is just paying the bills? Is there something else I can be expanding into? So it's to get your mind thinking and your brain buzzing, like, who do I need to be now? There are so many opportunities in the world. And there's also structure, in the sense that there's going to be somebody speaking about structure in your mind, in your business, in your processes. So is it that, you need to set something up professionally? This is how to do it in this climb. That's for the UK. And primarily, like I said, is for Nigerians or Africans in diaspora. Obviously, whether you were born, bred there, that your identity is something that you need to begin to pay attention to.
mm.
Africa is in, Nigeria is even inner, if I can say anything like that.
Mhm.
There's so many opportunities that
Love
you
it.
need to tap into, just because of your cultural or your locational origin or identity, that you need to begin to reimagine, what can I do? How do I expand into more that is already available to me from this perspective? So, like I said, it's a journey of identity and purpose. Of course, there's going to be food all day, organic food, like I said, because it's wellness driven, deep dive conversations, just, a time for you, whether it's you're a professional, you're a creative, you're a founder, business person, whatever it is, that day is just dedicated for you to remember your very reason why you are here and who you need to be today.
Amazing, amazing. Sounds like a fantastic event. And Ruth has come in with the question. She says,
Okay.
how do you handle pressure from work environments where you work and you still feel like you're not doing enough? Do you respond by proving your worth or just by silence? Thank you so much for that question, Ruth.
Thank you.
Tell us where you're joining in
Thank
from.
you. I thought I heard it.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that, you know, okay. I think that the first thing, I need to go back to that question. How do you handle? Yeah. So the first thing is, again, I said something about feedback. So it is to find clarity again, handle pressure from work, where you work and you still feel like there must be specific things that are at the, should I say, forefront. What are you not doing well? What is the complaint? What are we looking? So what are, let's be um let's be quantitative. So what is it in specific terms? Is it that it's because of this, or is it so listening for feedback, and not just, being emotional, or not just allowing yourself to go on a self-depleting, should I
Mm,
say, journey. So you begin to ask the specific questions. What exactly could I be doing better? What are the expectations? So sit with your KPIs and say, what, and so that you can also measure yourself and see that, you know what, is it that I am doing this and it's not enough, or I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or let's be able to measure it. Now, when we're able to measure it, and we see that this is not adding up, then you begin to reimagine, what do you really want? Is this the right environment for you? So because you cannot be complaining consistently about a thing and think that you will get the best from it. The best of you is not going to show up. The best of that thing is not going to show up. If we are in conflict with each other constantly, or if we're constantly criticizing, whatever it is that we focus on is all we will see. So he says, how do you respond? Is it by proving your worth? So proving your worth can only be in measurable standards. How do you prove your worth? Post this. Bring in so. Is it in your KPIs? I go back to it. I've tried to say anything else, but at work, I'm just looking at KPIs because your key performance indicators is what will show us. Are you doing 10% of this? If I'm not doing 10%, I'm doing 2%. What is causing the gap? How can I measure up? So sometimes it's not just to always look at on the outside and say, oh, this company is giving me so much this, but looking in the books, especially for what you were hired for, are you living up to it? And if you are not, do you have the zeal? Do you have the energy? Do you have the courage to step it up? If you don't, be noble and do the right thing.
Mm. I love that. I love that. Some really practical advice there. Ruth, I'm sure you have gotten some clarity. And speaking about clarity, we have a question from Marigold. Marigold, I'm just navigating to your question now. And her question is really around clarity as well. Just opening her question now. Sorry, I'm navigating multiple devices at the same time so that I can get everybody's questions. Okay, so let's see. My question is about clarity. Like, what do you do when you have the clarity, the charisma, and you can also deliver well? People can gain a lot from you, but it's hard for you to show what you can do in terms of transitioning into a new role. And it's hard for you to get what you're looking for. So I think what she's saying essentially, you've proven yourself, but now it's time to go to that next level, and it's not happening for you. What do you do?
Thank you for that interesting question. First off, clarity is absolute. What do I mean? If you are clear, you would know. Clarity is power.
Mm.
So the reason you're actually not moving in is because you are not clear. If you are clear, you would move. What do I mean?
Mm.
Why, again, the reason, why am I here? I'm clear on that. What is at stake? If I move, if I don't move. You see, when you are clear on what is at stake, if you don't move, you will move. Let me explain. So somebody says,
Very true.
I have no zeal. I can't even do this and I can't do that. And they can see all sorts of bills on their table and they're like, see, I don't even know where to start from. And then they get somebody else to tell them, you know what? That's fine. You can wallow in this. But in 2 days, if you don't do this, you'll be out on the streets. Now, if being out on the streets is enough, you see, all of that confusion will come to an end in that minute.
Very
So
true.
again, it is that can you tell yourself, can you be true to self and say, this is what I really want? Sometimes we think that's what we want, but it's not. So if it's not powerful enough to move you, it's not enough. Well, there's so many laws of physics, except, movement. How does movement happen? Movement doesn't happen on its own. It's some external force that pushes a thing,
Applies
that
force.
applies force on it,
Mhm.
that gives it to
More.
move. Otherwise, we are playing. So clarity comes with that external force. And that external force may be something that you begin to ask yourself, why am I here? What is at stake? If I do this, what will happen? If I don't do this, what will happen? How many more years? What do I have? We make decisions when we come to terms with what is at stake.
I
And
love
a
that.
lot of us are afraid to come to terms with what is at stake. We'd rather push it and push it. No. So, for instance, and this is because we're talking about women, and I'm just going to wrap it up with this. If you knew that, you know what, I'm having a baby in 6 months, and I need to do some certain things. Otherwise, to get back into the workforce, it's not going to happen. You know that you have to tell yourself the truth and say, you know what? It's not going to happen. So I must do this and do this, make sure that I set this in order. I tell them ahead, I would need this leave and whatever. If you don't do that, you know what is at stake. So what is that? Is it powerful enough? Are you going to tell yourself, oh, you know what? I will tell them the day I'm about to give birth that I'm about to give birth now, then I will lose my 3 months. I mean, let's be true to self. Let's be
Powerful.
true to self. Yeah.
Powerful. I love that. We make decisions when we come to terms with what is at stake. So at the end of it all, clarity.
Yes.
Clarity is at the
Yeah.
bottom of it. So while we were going to start wrapping up now, we have some comments. In fact, we have David says the journey. Let me read. I want to read the whole thing. The journey of identity and purpose is what we are consciously or subconsciously involved in as human beings. And doing it purposefully is one of the greatest rewards we can give ourselves. And it's not just leaving, it's about the action, not leaving the definition of who we are to others, right? Thank you for the insights. Thank you for your comment, David. Guys, please keep your comments and your questions coming in, although we are wrapping up now. So I'm going to give you a 2-in-1 question, YBB, a 2-in-1 question. And it's really around power and influence, right? What is your personal definition of power? And how can women own it? And then how do we navigate spaces so that we can cultivate influence without feeling like we have to be the loudest in the room? So what is power? How can we own it? And how do we build influence without having to be the loudest in the room?
You know, I'm going to say that power is the ability to shape outcomes. Is the ability to shape outcomes. Like, power is being able to shift, being able to move, being able to influence, being able to impact, being able to shift and change and, you know, influence outcomes. So if this was going a certain way, power is that it can take it this other way, even though it did not look like it, there was no inclination, it would never have gone that way. So for me, that would be an explanation of what power is. And I can explain it so many other ways, but again, we're wrapping up. There's so much we can say in 1 hour. I think the other thing you said is how, please take that again because it was so, you said how can especially women, what was it now?
How can we own it?
Own it.
How do we build our personal power, and how do we build influence as well? So how do we build power and influence without feeling like we have to be the loud? You know, when we think about power, we think of force. You know, so how can we build our own power and spaces of influence without feeling like we have to be the loudest in the room?
So, I mean, influence, it doesn't require volume. It's not because we're loud. It is that, you know, there's presence and there's something that I'll call strategic questioning. So what is the main, what are we looking at? So that's why I'm saying outcomes. A lot of us are running on, you know, on perceptions. We're running on other people's goals that are not even our own, that you understand what strategic questioning is, and that you are asking yourself the right questions. Okay, so what do I want at the end of all of this? So that's what would help you to determine whether in some moments you keep quiet just because there's no need, or in some moments you show up because everything else is at stake. So for especially for women, I would say first off, and this may not be something that you're familiar with, that you declare it to yourself. What does that mean? That if you know what you want, where you are going, that you tell it to yourself first. You declare it yourself such that you are comfortable with it. Why? You'll be in some certain situations where everything will be tugging at your self-worth, will be tugging at your values, will be tugging at what you hold dear. And you may be conflicted. You may say, you know, let me not be the loudest in the room. Let me not be the softest. Let me not be this. But that when you have told yourself the truth enough about your own reasons, you have declared it to yourself and said, this is where I am going. And you know that along the way, grace is something you must carry with you. I think that that is the differentiating factor. That no matter how much you are declaring something to yourself, that you know that you must carry grace with you. And grace is what, executive presence, clarity of intention actually looks like. That you give people room to be themselves. In the
Mm,
sense that,
mm,
sometimes things are coming at you, and that you realize that, what, this person, this is how they are, this is for them in this moment. Can my energy clash with this? What is at stake here? That you step down and it's okay. That is power, because that power means that you have the ability to shape the outcomes because you are aligning with your own values. You are aligning with your values. What is true
love
to you
it.
in that moment? So it's not about dominance. So in that moment, it's about influence, but influence in precision and in integrity of purpose.
Mm,
That's what do I want out of this? Where am I going in this? No matter what performances are happening in front of me, no matter what dancing that they are dancing, that you know that, see, I am the masquerade. I use masquerade because I'm African, so you understand. The attention is on me. The attention from within,
mm,
focus on myself. I am here, I'm the most important person thing in these circumstances. Now, if I shape shift, what will happen? That is power. And that's how to control it, and just stay true to yourself. That you sit with yourself, you declare the things to yourself and say, this is where I'm going, this is what I want to do. That you hold yourself accountable by setting, standards and saying, oh, this person hold me to this. That person creates a wall of trust. And that when you are going into the world, that you're carrying this with you, and that you're
mm,
not shape shifting, you're not trying to impress, that you stay solid in yourself, right? And that you realize that, see, influence is not, it's not about volume, it's not because we're shouting, it's not because we are keeping quiet. It is that we have the ability to shape outcomes in alignment with our core and our beliefs and our values. I hope that helps.
I love that, YBB. Influence is not about volume. That is so powerful. This conversation, we could go on, but the truth about it is that the conversation is happening at the reveal in London. I think it's next week, Saturday, right? So, and
The
that's
upper
where
Saturday though.
Saturday,
So
okay,
next
Saturday, the
23rd,
upper,
not this one, the upper one.
yeah, yes, 23rd. And
Mm.
so as if you've enjoyed this conversation, I see a few people now have joined from the UK. Welcome to the conversation. If you're just joining, and if you're not in the UK at the moment, and you're wondering, okay, YBB, when is Reveal coming to my city? Make sure you're following YBB on LinkedIn and also on Instagram so that you can find out when she's coming to a city near you. But YBB, maybe just to wrap up, just tell people who are just joining now or those who want to know more a bit about the reveal and how they can register as we wrap up.
Okay, thank you. I see my people in the chat. I'm saying hello to you. I don't need to say your names, but I see you. Thank you. So to join the reveal, the link is up there, or you can just send us a message. You can send me a DM on LinkedIn or a DM at Identity Coach on Instagram, and or just go to Instagram. Any comments that you make, just say the reveal. You would find the details there. It's all over. What is the reveal? I said that it is really for the Nigerian or African in diaspora who is seeking more from this for themselves, who wants to rise into levels of identity and purpose, levels of influence and impact that they know that it's time for. Pretty much that's it. It's a nine, starts at 9 to about 5, 6. A lot in there, deep dive conversations, strategy, structure for your business, for your mind. If there's anything you need to, if you have questions around registrations, around building cross-cultural businesses across the nation, across nations, international trade, all of that, those questions can be answered as well, but also grounded in yourself and being able to say what matters to me now and how do I rise into that. I think that that's all that I have to say about the reveal tonight. Thank you, Dr. Glory.
Amazing, amazing, guys. I remember, guys, I was at Deeper which is a retreat as well that YBB holds in Lagos, Nigeria. And it was a fascinating event. One of the things that I think YBB does super well is creating safe spaces for people to share and to come to terms with themselves and the baggage that they have been carrying and to confront it with powerful tools. So it's not just a space for you to feel safe and to share, but to actually confront your challenges and to be given the tools to step by step, untangle those challenges so that you can see a path forward. So I encourage all to attend. If you can't attend, tell your friend about the event, right? It's going to be absolutely super. Thank you so much for joining us, YBB. This has been such a
Thank
riveting conversation.
you.
And thank you to everyone that has joined. YBB, any parting words, anything you want to say to the people before we log off?
My famous words that I always say, and I hope that it finds, room in your heart. And when you say to yourself, I always say to myself, all that I need to be, I already am.
Mm, powerful, powerful. That's going to stay with me. All that I need to be, I already am. That's so powerful. Thank you so much, YBB. Thank you to everyone that's listening. And see you all at the review. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.